between thumb and forefinger in an unconsciously European fashion. Half of it was gone before he exhaled. He reached out with his free hand and patted Serena's cheek. "Ah, ma jolie fille, ain't nobody crazy enough to go out to big gifts." As he said it, a loud bang sounded in the shop behind him, followed by a virulent French oath. Lawrence went still, with his hand halfway to a tin ashtray on the counter, an unholy light coming into his eyes, a little smile tugging at a corner of his mouth. "Well, maybe there's somebody. Just how bad you want to go, Cher?" Serena swallowed the knot of apprehension in her throat, clasping her hands together in front of her like a schoolgirl. Now was not the time for a faint heart. "It's imperative. I have to go." He bent his head a little to one side and gave a Gaelic shrug, then shouted over his shoulder, "Etienne, viens ici!" What Serena had braced herself for, she wasn't sure, but it certainly wasn't the man who filled the doorway. The impact of his sudden presence had the same effect as being hit with a shockwave, a phenomenon she had heretofore not believed in. Her first impression was of raw power. Broad shoulders, bulging biceps. His chest, bare and gleaming with a sheen of sweat, was wide, and hard muscle beneath taut, tanned skin. The strong V of his torso narrowed to a slender waist, a stomach corrugated with muscle and dusted with black hair that disappeared beneath the low-riding waistband of faded green fatigue pants. She raised her eyes to his face and felt a strange shiver pass over her from head to toe, making her scalp tighten and her fingers tingle. He stared at her from under sleepy lids with large, unblinking amber eyes like a panther's. His brow was heavy and straight, his nose bold and slightly aquiline. His mouth did the most damage to her nervous system, however. It was wide, with lips so masterfully carved, so incredibly sensuous, they would have looked perfect on a high-priced call girl. The effect of that mouth on a face so masculine, all lean planes and hard angles and 5 o'clock shadow, was so blatantly sexual. He regarded her with a subtle disdain that suggested he didn't much care for women other than to bed them, something he appeared to be capable of doing on a more than regular basis. Pulling a cigarette from behind his ear, he planted it in the corner of his mouth, lit it, and said something to Laurence Gautier in rapid Cajun French, a patois no Parisian would begin to understand. The dialect had nearly been eradicated by the Louisiana school system decades before, and although it was making a comeback of sorts due to the latest craze for all things Cajun, it was still not widely spoken. This man spoke it as if it were his primary language. Having grown up in Louisiana's French Triangle, Serena had picked up the odd word and phrase, but he spoke too quickly for her to understand anything more than the implication. That was clear enough by Gautier's reaction, another laughing and coughing fit, and a slap on the shoulder for his barbarian friend. Serena felt her cheeks heat with embarrassment as the man sauntered to the end of the counter and leaned a hip against it, all the while assessing her blatantly with those lazy amber eyes. He took a leisurely drag on his cigarette, exhaled, and delivered another line to keep Gautier in stitches. Serena gave him her coolest glare, defending herself with hauteur. "Excuse me, but I was raised to believe it is extremely rude to carry on conversations not all those around you can understand." One black brow sketched upward sardonically, and the corner of that remarkable mouth curled ever so slightly. He looked like her idea of the devil on steroids. When he spoke to her, his tone was a low, throaty purr that stroked her senses like velvet. "I told him you don't look like you're selling it or giving it away," he said, the words rolling out of his mouth with an accent as rich as Cajun gumbo. "So what could I possibly want with you? I have no interest in American ladies." He drawled the last word with stinging contempt. Serena tugged at the lapels of her blazer.